Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be I know the truth, but my wife denies having an affair and lies to my face. So, this particular email, this guy has two kids with his wife, and he says about a year ago, he started noticing something a little funky with her behavior. There was a guy, he's just a friend, you don't have to worry about him, as many dishonest women tend to say. And so it proceeds over the past year that he's caught her in multiple lies. She denies everything. Then he goes through her phone, finds out there's a lot more going on than she admits to. Even one of their mutual friends sees her, in essence, out on a date with this other guy. So he's got all this evidence. He's been through her phone. And he's like, hey, if you keep going down this road, I'm going to leave you. And of course, she just maintains none of it's true. He's just imagining things. She continues to gaslight him. And plus, on top of that, she's got some friends that are encouraging her to leave her husband and get divorced, probably because they're in unhappy relationships or maybe they're single as well. And so, this is the interesting thing. People that are in relationships, they want everybody else to be in relationships. People that are single tend to want other people to be single. And if, like, it's so in this case, this woman is married, he's got kids, or they both have kids together, and so her single girlfriends are basically saying, "Oh yeah, you should go be single, and life would be so much better without that horrible husband of yours." It's kind of shit that. So in other words, it's misery loves company, and what really happens is that if we can get other people to conform to our worldview or get them to make the same relationship choices that they've made, good or bad, then we feel better about our own choices. In other words, we seek validation in our life choices through other people. And so this woman's got friends around her that are encouraging her to destroy her marriage, cheat on her husband, and go live the single life and YOLO it. And so he's got all this evidence, and so he's recently gone and talked to a divorce attorney, and he's let her know. And so he goes through detail on what's happened, kind of the slow progression of things over the last year. And he asks my opinion because on top of that, she's bad mouthing him to members of his own family. So it's just an unfortunate situation that, again, character is destiny. You got to look at who the person surrounds himself with, what their actions are when you're dating, when you're in the vetting process. I mean, years ago, I always thought that this stuff was kind of common sense. I wrote a lot about my experience in learning this stuff and mastering yourself and confiding in people that I thought were friends when it turns out they weren't really friends. And you can notice patterns on behavior. And when we care about somebody, we tend to blind ourselves to it. Like I had a guy that was the best man in my wedding when I got married in my 20s. I thought he was my best friend. And then meanwhile, when I wasn't around, he was always either talking shit or doing underhanded things, trying to bang my wife or hitting on girls that I knew. And he just wasn't a good dude. And the interesting thing was even my parents, when we were teenagers, were like, I don't like that guy. He's not a good influence. I was like, but you guys don't know him like I do. We have so much fun together. It's a good time. And so it was a long road for me to recognize that after somebody continues to screw you over, this was also a guy I lent money to. This was the same dude that wrecked my Lotus. And like literally the second day I had it. And so it's like when you see patterns over and over, at some point, if you keep putting up with it, well, then it's your fault. Because no one will ever do or say anything to you that you don't invite them to do. And so if you keep people of low character in your life, you're going to attract other low character people, and they're going to dick you down. They're going to do you dirty. And unfortunately, this guy's pretty far down the road. He's married. They have two kids. And it's clear her behavior is not going to change, and she is on a one-way road to sabotaging her marriage and her relationship to be with some other guy. And is all the while bamboozling or trying to bamboozle her husband, and he's been giving her the benefit of the doubt. And it's like Maya Angelou said, when somebody tells you who they are, believe them the first time. And so These are things that are hard lessons just as a human being to learn, especially when you care about people, whether it's a close friend or somebody you're dating or a significant other. It's character's destiny. And people that do ratchet things typically tend to keep doing those things. They maybe become better at hiding them, but at the end of the day, a low character person is going to behave and do low character things. It's just like, guys at White Night and wife up a stripper or a hoe, and then they're shocked that she does hoe things to them or she cheats on them. It's like you're not going to fix somebody's bad character or undo somebody's bad parenting job, especially a father who didn't do a good job or wasn't there. You just got to see reality as it is. And typically what happens, again, for those of you that are very familiar with mastering yourself, it's when you get burned enough, you finally start to recognize, okay, but this is something we all have to go through. We all have to learn, because whether it's a business partner or a friend or somebody you're dating or a client, it's just like character tends to be destiny. I was talking to a guy a couple weeks ago that had been with his wife for a long time. And initially when they got together, they went into business with the man that had raised her. And the man that had raised her had lied to and had cheated on his wife and vice versa. So she came from a family where both parents were disloyal and cheated on each other. And then they went into business with this guy and he stole a bunch of money from him. And I've seen these kinds of things over and over. It's like you give family members, it's like, you look at Billy Joel. He hired his father-in-law from his first marriage to be his business manager. And when he was in the early 90s, I think you could watch VH1's Behind the Music. He put his former father-in-law as his business manager because he's like, hey, this is family. And it came, I don't know, it was mid-90s. So this is like after Billy Joel had all of his hits, made all of his money in the early mid-70s, early 80s, where he made millions and millions of dollars. He's like, I'm set for life. This is great. My kids and family are going to be taken care of no matter what happens to me. And then he was using a credit card of his or something one time, and it got declined. And he was like, well, that's kind of weird. And then as he started kind of looking into it, the bank account that it was tied to was empty. He started going through his banks and his safety deposit boxes. He'd go in there, instead of all the cash and stuff that he thought was in there, there's just all these IOUs from his father-in-law. And his father-in-law or ex-father-in-law had just basically pissed away and spent all of his money and lost it on bad business deals and spending it. And so he gets to a point in his life where he should be slowing down when he's in his 50s. And come to find out, he's completely broke and bankrupt in essence. And so he had to work twice as hard to go back out on the road and to tour and perform. Obviously, he fired his ex-father-in-law, but it's like, you got to trust but verify. Like Ronald Reagan said, I've just seen the same pattern over and over and over again, that when you see somebody of low character and then like talking about my client, and then his significant other, he finds out she's cheating on him and has been for a while. And then, he's discussing whether or not this is something that can be saved. And it's like, so, okay, tell me about her family. And then, they've gone into business or done some business deals with this guy, and he ripped them off. It's like somebody that'll steal from their own kids, their own family, cheats on their significant other, and then she cheats on you. It's like, that shouldn't be surprising. That should be obvious. But when you're in love and you're young, it's like, oh, it's like a movie. We're going to live happily ever after. And that's just not how things work in the real world. And so this is yet another guy that is married to a woman. They got a couple of kids together. And she's been cheating on him for the past year. And his spidey senses were telling him that this woman is not a good person. She's doing something shady. He continues to pull on the ball of yarn, if you will, peels the layers of the onion, and there's just lies upon lies upon lies. And the bottom line is she's stone cold busted, and yet she just absolutely lies and denies like a politician. And so he's like, here's my situation. What do I do? And so again, we got to remember, character is destiny. You're not going to fix somebody whose family did a shitty job. So like I said, Billy Joel learned the hard way. Probably tens of millions, $100 million. I don't know how much his ex-father-in-law ripped him off for. But he just trusted him. He blindly trusted him. Didn't bother looking at his bank statements. Didn't bother to verify everything. He just trusted it was all being handled. And, he gets into his 50s and he's completely broke. And on top of that, I think he owed a bunch of creditors money. And so that's a horrible thing to find out. It's somebody that you had been in your life for decades and thought was looking out for you. You treat them like family. And all of a sudden, they completely rob you blind. And unfortunately, there's lots of people out in the world that are like this. And so we have to become good at identifying them and booting them out of our life. Because if you just put up with it, then you're giving them permission to continue to do it. And the only thing that really corrects this behavior is being ostracized by everybody, or maybe in some cases they end up in jail for the things that they're doing, especially when they're embezzling and doing other things like that. Because karma comes for all. But remember, no one will ever do or say anything to you that you don't invite them to do. Whatever you tolerate, you're going to invite more of. So with all that long explanation in mind, let's go through his email. He says, "Good morning, Coach. My name is Bob, and I'm reaching out for your input on my current situation. My wife has been speaking to an individual behind my back for the past year. When I first confronted her, she gave me the typical, 'he was just a friend,' and brought up us needing space." So when a woman says, especially like in a situation like this, she needs space, what she really is saying is that, hey, you leave me alone. I want to be a free agent. I want to act like I'm single. And I want to do what I want to do. So she's basically saying she's not going to work on the marriage at that point, obviously because the guy who's just a friend is more than just a friend. But she's expecting you to buy her load of bullshit. Because if a new guy comes into her life and she's like, oh, he's just a friend, you don't have to worry about him. But I want some space. I want to go out and do things. You can't say, don't be insecure and tell me I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't wear skimpy outfits and go clubbing with my girlfriends. That kind of stuff. It's like if you're in a marriage and in a relationship, if you're going to go clubbing and you're in love and you have a good relationship, you're going to want your significant other to go with you. And if they don't want to go, then you're going to do what they want to do. It's typically how it works. But if you're not happy and you don't want to be with that person, then you're going to want to go, like in this case, the girl's going to want to go out and act like a single girl. And get to a place, like especially this person, because this is obviously a low character woman. A high character woman is just going to leave when she's not happy. A low character woman is going to say he's just a friend and expect you to buy her bullshit. And as the evidence continues to pile up, she's just going to lie about it. And then when she feels ready, when things look really good with the next guy she's going to be with, that's when she leaves you and goes, oh, it just kind of happened. Oops, he ended up inside me. Character is destiny. He says, I responded that if she continues down this path, there is no future for us due to the fact I wasn't going behind her back and speaking to a member of the opposite sex in such a manner. Yeah, exactly. There's got to be mutual respect. And what she's basically communicating is she's not going to work on the marriage. She's going to basically try to bullshit you into believing her story so she can continue to go create a relationship with somebody else. And then when it looks like it's going to work out, that's when she drops the bomb on you. Again, this is how low character people operate. Just like, my former best friend, when I was in the process of splitting up with my wife, I was confiding in him, getting his advice and telling him these things because I was really torn up about it. And I think my best friend is just listening to me. In reality, what he's really thinking, the way his mind worked, and honestly, my mom and dad spotted it when we were teenagers. It's like the way he's thinking is, oh, how can I use this to my advantage? Now I got all this intel on Corey and what he's really feeling about his wife, and now I'll go share it with his wife and ingratiate myself to her because I told her inside information. And then when Corey's out of the way, then I can slide in there and beat up her pelvis. Instead of coming to me like a dude who's got some integrity after the fact and say, hey, would it be all right, would you mind if I went out on a date with your ex-wife? It's like I would have respected that more, but instead he did it in a completely underhanded way because he's a worm. That's how they operate. So the situation had left me conflicted, so I chose to verify whether she was really truthful in the excuses she gave me for this friend. I found out they were just lies. I also discovered she was being influenced by friends, well, remember, you are who you associate with, who believe being a single mother with 2 children is better than being in a relationship where you can't do whatever you want. And again, probably these women that are influencing her have probably wrecked their marriages or their relationships, and they want additional people to validate their life choices, and your wife tends to be a person they've selected to help validate their life choices. So they're trying to win her over to their way of thinking and being. And if your wife is a low character person, which it sure looks like she is here based on the evidence you've shared, it's not your fault that she's this way. This is what her parents did. Her parents did a shitty job of raising her, especially your dad. He says, I chose to withdraw and give her the space she wanted and keep things cordial for our children. There are 2 sides to every story, and I've tried to acknowledge my faults to my wife to amend things. Well, again, you're going to make mistakes and have made mistakes that have caused her to lose attraction, but the fact that she's just going out and lining up another dude behind your back and you finding out about it and her just going, oh, he's just a friend, you don't have to worry about that. I mean, it's true when she tells you that at the time, but she could have sex with him the next day and then just go, oh, well, it just happened. Well, she's putting herself in the situation to invite attention, sexual attention from another dude. And so that's how the technicality in her mind is that she's not really lying. He says, I discovered through my in-laws that she is completely bad-mouthing me to her family and denies having any fault or this individual coming into the picture. She was just recently seen with him and when confronted, continued to lie and deny the affair. So she's embarrassing herself, she's embarrassing you, and now you got mutual friends going, oh yeah, I saw Bob's wife out with some other dude. She was hanging out with Chad Thundercock. So she's once again busted. People have seen her out, and yet she's still, this is the height of gaslighting. You've got people that have actual evidence. You got the evidence of what you've seen in the phone, and yet she still is looking you right in the eye and lying to your face. Again, she sounds like a typical politician. They're the most cold-blooded, heartless, lying-ass scumbags that the earth has ever seen. She was recently spotted alone with this man in public by a mutual friend of ours, and I brought it up, and she continued to lie. So you got multiple people seeing her out with this dude. Because again, a woman who comes from a good family, who's loyal, she ain't going to go out on dates with other dudes. She's not going to go to happy hours with her boss one-on-one. She's not going to be going to dinner at 8 and 9 o'clock at night with her boss. It's just because she's a family-oriented girl. She's just not going to do those things. She's not going to be in that situation. But a woman of low character, a chick that belongs to the streets, is just going to do this to line up everything in her favor. And then when everything looks like it's good, then she's going to dip. Being done, I started filing for divorce and I let her know. Well, that was a fuck up on your part because I wouldn't have let her know. And when I talk to guys that are in these situations that they found out that their wife is cheating or their girlfriend is cheating or whatever, the first thing you need to do is when the bank opens tomorrow morning is that you need to be there and you need to take the majority of your money out of that particular bank account and then open a different bank account where you're the only signatory on it. So you're able to do those things. You could open it at another bank or even at the same bank because if she's not on that bank account, she has no access to the money. Because it's pretty common for guys to think, oh, I got such a great wife, everything's so wonderful, and they just leave the accounts there. And then what happens is she goes and empties the accounts and takes all the money. and then opens up her own bank account, which you don't have access to, and now you got no cash. Now you got no assets. And so, like Sun Tzu so famously said, conceal your plans from the enemy, and then when everything is ready, fall like a thunderbolt. That's what you should do. So if you're in a situation where you know for sure you're leaving and divorcing your wife, you need to talk to an attorney in your country, in your city, that can advise you of what the laws are and what the best way to go about it is. But first and foremost, you got to get control of your cash. And so I don't know I only know what things are like in Florida. So I got clients all over the world. And so we're dealing with different cultures, different laws, everything is different. So again, that's why you need to seek legal counsel in your country, in your state, and your city that's aware of the local laws that apply to you in these situations, so you can plan things out. So when you fall like a thunderbolt, she's overwhelmed and you don't get bamboozled, because at the end of the day, she's the one that's doing all this shady shit, that's completely lying to you, and you're just not going to fix that. You're not going to make her into an honest woman, because the people that she associates with are obviously liars and dirtbags, and she's associating with a guy that has no problem banging your wife. So you're already divorcing her. You got to be smart. You got to maintain operational security. I would not be telling her all these things, because you're just making it more difficult on yourself in the divorce proceedings, and you're giving up valuable leverage that you should not be. Because if this woman is lying to your face about everything like she is, I wouldn't trust her as far as I could throw her, and I would make sure you move your money and your stocks or whatever you got that she has access to into different accounts, different banks, different brokerage accounts, different companies, so she has no legal access to them. Because if you leave the stuff there, she'll feel entitled to it and she'll just go and take it. He said, I just don't know who my wife is at this point, and left out a lot of other details, but I believe this to be the main points. I would really appreciate your input and thank you for your work, Coach. You're truly inspiring. Well, unfortunately, you're not going to fix her. You're not going to change her. You got to see reality as it is, not better than it is or worse than it is. You've tried to see it as better than it is. You've tried to give her the benefit of the doubt for the past year, and she just continues to lie to your face. So it just means she's a low character person, and there's nothing you can do about that. What you really need to do, though, is once you do leave and you do end this relationship, is that you got to make sure it's clear to your children that she's the one that decided to go outside the marriage and break up the family. Because then she'll have to be the one to explain that. Because, you could go and start applying what's in the book and reattract her, but a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, when you slip up again and you get complacent and you don't pay attention when she's complaining that you don't do anything, she's just going to behave the same way. Probably she'll call this guy again or another guy and do the same thing all over. So you have to decide whether or not this is something that you'd want to put up with. And most guys don't want to sleep with one eye open for the rest of their lives. And that's the way she is. And so what your kids need to see you happy and in love with a woman who actually has the right family values or similar family values that you have. Because it's clear you don't share the same value system with your wife. She's dishonest. And so the best thing you can do for your kids and for yourself is to present them with a good example, because when they get old enough, especially when they get to be teenagers, they're going to find out that their mother is just a lying, cheating hoe bag. And then when that happens, they're going to discount what she says, and they're going to be the ones listening to you and following you. And by the time that comes around, you'll be leading by example. You'll have a good marriage or a good relationship with somebody of good and high character that's just not going to behave the way this is. And they're going to, for the most part, not really take anything that the mom says seriously, because quite frankly, they shouldn't. But if you stay and you put up with it, then this is what your wife is going to teach your kids to be like. And then your kid's going to grow up and model the same behavior that your wife has shown them. So I feel bad for you and what's happened, but you're doing the right things by talking to a divorce attorney, but I wouldn't have said anything to her first until you get all your paperwork, your ducks in a row, and you're ready to file and fall like a thunderbolt on her. And then And don't give her any unnecessary leverage, because if she's willing to lie to your face, it's like when the divorce happens, it's like all bets are off. She'll be absolutely ruthless. And so you might as well head it off ahead of time. So if you guys haven't already signed up for our members only content, in the video description below this video, there are links to join on YouTube or to join on Spotify, and as well to join on my website, understandingrelationships.com. If you go to understandingrelationships.com and select the plans tab, you can do a 7-day free trial so you can see what you get, what kinds of members only content, what it's like. And if you choose an annual plan, you get a 25% discount if you pay for the annual plan, pay up front, and after the 7-day free trial is over. And so what you get is you get 6 additional paid video coaching newsletters, just like this one that only the paying members have access to. Obviously, we do 5 free ones Monday through Friday like normal, but in addition to that, paying members get an additional 6 video coaching newsletters. You get the weekly 3% Man study group podcast, the weekly Mastering Yourself study group podcast, where we literally go page by page in each book and discuss everything that's in the book. So it's another, like an online class, if you will, a weekly class where we just really go through the book in detail and in depth. And plus we have other interviews and other special videos and things that are for paying members only. Again, in the video description below, you can join on YouTube if you just want to watch the videos there. You can join on Spotify if you want to watch or just listen to videos. And if obviously we would prefer that you sign up on the website and choose an annual plan and get the 25% discount. Because if you sign up on the website, then you'll get access to the email analysis that goes along with these video newsletters. And if you got a question or a challenge and you'd like to get my help with, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen on any page of my website, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.